Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Psychology. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. This is a place for rest, for understanding, for letting your mind drift gently through the landscape of human emotion as your body prepares for sleep. There's no need to focus too hard, no need to remember every detail. Just let the words flow over you like a gentle stream, soft and continuous. Before we begin, feel free to like this video if you'd like to support the channel. Subscribe if you want more content like this to help you fall asleep. And if you have thoughts or requests for future topics, the comment section is always open. But there's no pressure. You're here to rest, and that's what matters most. Now, find a comfortable position. Adjust your pillows, settle into your blankets, let your body sink into wherever you're lying. Take a slow, deep breath in, and let it out. Again, breathing in, and releasing all the tension of the day. Tonight, we're exploring emotions and feelings, what they are, where they come from, how they move through your body and shape your experience. Whether you stay awake for the entire journey or drift off somewhere along the way, you'll absorb what you need and let go of the rest. So close your eyes, or let them grow heavy. Let your thoughts quiet down. Let whatever you're feeling right now simply be, without judgment, without resistance. And let's begin this gentle journey together into the beautiful, complex world of human emotion. Let's begin tonight with something simple. Something foundational. Close your eyes if you'd like, and just listen. There's no rush here. No need to remember everything. Just let the words wash over you like gentle waves. Tonight, we're going to explore emotions, those invisible forces that color every moment of our lives. But before we go any further, let's clear up something that might surprise you. Something most people don't realize. Emotions and feelings are not the same thing. Now, you might be thinking, wait, aren't they? And that's perfectly understandable. We use these words interchangeably all the time. But there's a beautiful distinction here, one worth sitting with for a moment. An emotion is what happens first. It's automatic, instant. It's your body's immediate response to something in your environment. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking through a forest at dusk, and suddenly you hear a loud crack in the bushes nearby. Before you even have time to think, your body responds. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Adrenaline floods your system. That's the emotion. The fear response, happening in your body right now, without any conscious choice on your part. The feeling, that comes next. The feeling is when your conscious mind catches up. It's when you become aware of what's happening in your body, and you give it a name. I feel afraid, you might think. Or maybe, I feel startled. The feeling is the subjective experience, the story your mind tells about the emotion your body is having. So emotions happen to you. Feelings are what you make of them. It's a subtle difference, but understanding it can change how you relate to your own inner world. Your emotions are these ancient, powerful responses. Your feelings are how you interpret them, how you live with them. And speaking of ancient responses, let's talk about something else. Something wonderfully simple. There are 8 basic emotions. Just 8. Isn't that remarkable? Of all the complexity we experience, all the nuanced states we move through in a single day, they can be traced back to 8 fundamental patterns. These 8 basic emotions are joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, surprise, trust, and anticipation. Think about that for a moment. Joy. That warm expansion in your chest. Sadness. That heavy, downward pull. Anger. That heat, that surge of energy. Fear. That sharp alertness. Disgust. That instinct to pull away. Surprise. That sudden opening. trust, that sense of safety and connection, and anticipation, that forward-leaning curiosity about what comes next, everything else you feel. All those complicated, layered emotions with names like jealousy, nostalgia, resentment, or contentment. They're combinations of these 8. They're like colors mixed from primary hues. Jealousy might be a blend of fear, anger, and sadness. Nostalgia could be joy mixed with sadness and anticipation. But at the root, there are just these 8 simple patterns. 8 ways your body and mind respond to the world. There's something deeply comforting about that, isn't there? That beneath all the complexity, there's simplicity. That you're not broken or strange for feeling what you feel. You're experiencing variations on 8 universal themes. Now, let's go a little deeper. Let's look at what actually happens when you have an emotion. Emotions involve 3 key components. 3 parts, working together, creating the experience you have. The first component is physiological. That's what happens in your body. Your heart rate changes. Your breathing shifts. Hormones and neurotransmitters flood your system. Your muscles tense or relax. Your pupils dilate or contract. Your digestion slows or speeds up. All of this happens automatically, orchestrated by parts of your brain you're not even consciously aware of. The second component is behavioral. That's what you do in response. You might smile. You might cry. You might freeze or run. You might reach out to hug someone or pull away. These behaviors can be subtle. A slight furrowing of your brow, a small step backward. Or they can be dramatic. And the third component is cognitive. That's what you think. How you interpret the situation. The meaning you assign to what's happening. This is where your personal history comes in, your beliefs, your expectations. 2 people might have the same physiological response to the same situation, but interpret it completely differently based on their thoughts. These 3 components, body, behavior, and mind, they work together. They influence each other. Your thoughts can change your physiology. Your physiology can change your thoughts. It's not a one-way street. It's a dance, constant and fluid. And here's something else beautiful about emotions, something that connects all of us everywhere. Emotions are universally recognized across cultures. If you traveled to a remote village on the other side of the world, somewhere with a completely different language and customs, and someone there smiled at you with crinkled eyes and raised cheeks, you would know they were experiencing joy. You wouldn't need a translator for that. If you saw someone's face contorted in anger, their eyebrows drawn together, their jaw clenched, you would recognize it instantly. Scientists have tested this. They've shown photographs of facial expressions to people in industrialized cities and in isolated communities that have had almost no contact with the outside world. And across all these different cultures, people recognize the same basic emotional expressions. A smile means joy. Tears means sadness. Snarl means anger. Wide eyes and an open mouth mean fear or surprise. This tells us something profound. It tells us that emotions aren't just learned. They're not simply cultural constructs, though culture certainly shapes how and when we express them. No. Emotions are something deeper. Something more fundamental. They're part of our shared human inheritance. And not just our human inheritance, actually. Emotional systems are shared across all mammals. Think about that. Your dog, when it wags its tail and bounces with excitement. That's joy. The same basic neural circuits that light up in your brain when you're happy are lighting up in your dog's brain. A cat, hissing and backing away, ears flat. That's fear and anger. Same basic systems. Elephants have been observed standing vigil over their dead, touching the bones gently with their trunks. Scientists who study them describe behaviors that look remarkably like grief. Like sadness. Rats, in experiments, will choose to help other rats in distress, even when there's no benefit to themselves. That suggests something like empathy, like concern for others. We share these emotional systems with other mammals because we share a common evolutionary history. These systems, these patterns of response, they're ancient. They evolved over millions of years because they helped our ancestors survive. Fear kept them alive by making them alert to danger. Disgust kept them healthy by making them avoid contaminated food. Joy bonded them to others and motivated them to seek out rewarding experiences. Sadness, believe it or not, helped too. It slowed them down after a loss, made them withdraw and conserve energy, signaled to others that they needed support. These emotions aren't arbitrary. They're adaptations. They're solutions to the problems of living. And here's where it gets really interesting. Your emotional centers evolved before your reasoning brain. Long before humans could think abstractly, plan for the future, or use language. We could feel. The parts of your brain responsible for emotions. Structures like the amygdala and the limbic system. They're ancient. They're sometimes called the old brain or the reptilian brain, though that terminology is a bit simplified. These structures evolved hundreds of millions of years ago. They exist, in some form, in reptiles, in birds, in all mammals. The prefrontal cortex. The part of your brain responsible for reasoning, for planning, for complex thought. That came much later. In evolutionary terms, it's brand new. Especially the degree of development it has in humans. What this means is that your emotional responses are fast, immediate. They happen before you can think about them. That's why you can't just think your way out of fear or sadness. That's why logic alone doesn't always help when you're in the grip of a strong emotion. Your emotional brain is designed to act first, think later. Because in a survival situation, speed matters more than accuracy. It's better to jump away from what might be a snake and then realize it was just a stick, than to stand there reasoning about it while an actual snake strikes. This can feel frustrating sometimes, can't it? You know, intellectually, that there's nothing to be anxious about, but you feel anxious anyway. You know someone didn't mean to hurt you, but you feel hurt regardless. But understanding this, understanding that your emotions have their own logic, their own timeline, their own ancient wisdom, it can help. It can help you be patient with yourself. It can help you recognize that you're not being irrational. You're being human. Your emotional brain and your reasoning brain are both parts of you. They are both valuable. And they work best when they work together. When your reason can gently guide your emotions, and when your emotions can inform your reason with their deep instinctive knowledge. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, maybe you can appreciate your emotions a little differently. They're not just chaos or noise. They're your connection to something ancient and universal. They're the 8 simple patterns that combine into infinite complexity. They're the 3-part dance of body, behavior, and mind. They're the language all humans speak, all mammals share. They're older than words, older than thought itself. And they're part of what makes you, you. Rest easy with that knowledge. Let it settle into you like warmth. Your emotions are not your enemy. They're your inheritance, your guidance system, your link to every feeling creature that has ever lived. And now, as we close this first gentle exploration, let yourself simply be. Whatever you're feeling right now, whether it's calm or restless, peaceful or worried, content or melancholy, it's okay. It's all part of those 8 simple patterns, those ancient systems, doing what they've done for millions of years. Just being. Just feeling. Just you. Now that we've explored what emotions are, let's go deeper. Let's look at how they actually happen. how they arise in the intricate landscape of your brain and body. Don't worry about remembering the details. Just let the understanding wash over you, gentle and easy. Deep in your brain, there's a small almond-shaped structure. It's called the amygdala, and it has a very important job. The amygdala acts as your brain's emotional sentinel. A sentinel is a guard, a watchman. And that's exactly what your amygdala does. It stands watch, constantly scanning everything you experience, asking one simple question. Is this important? Is this something I should care about? It's looking for threats, yes, but also for opportunities, for anything emotionally significant. And it's fast, remarkably fast. Information reaches your amygdala before it reaches the thinking parts of your brain. That's why you can feel afraid before you consciously know why. Your amygdala has already sounded the alarm. Think of it as your brain's early warning system. It's been doing this job for millions of years, keeping your ancestors safe, helping them survive. And now it does the same for you, every moment of every day, even while you sleep. Now, for a long time, people thought they understood how emotions worked. They thought it was simple. Something happens, you feel an emotion, then your body responds. You see a bear, you feel fear, then your heart races. But then two scientists, William James and Carl Langer, had a different idea. The James-Langer theory reversed traditional thinking. They suggested something radical. What if your body responds first, and the emotion comes from noticing that response? What if you see the bear, your heart starts racing, and then because you notice your racing heart, you feel fear? In other words, you don't run because you're afraid. You're afraid because you run. It sounds backward, doesn't it? But there's truth in it. Your body often knows before your mind does. Your emotions arise, in part, from your brain interpreting what's happening in your body. This is why changing your breathing can change how you feel. Why standing in a confident posture can actually make you feel more confident. Your brain is constantly reading your body, using those signals to construct your emotional experience. And that word, constructed, that's important. Emotions are constructed from past experiences. Your brain doesn't just passively receive emotions. It actively creates them, using everything it has learned throughout your entire life. Every emotion you've ever felt has taught your brain something. It has created associations, patterns, predictions. When you encounter a situation now, your brain instantly, unconsciously, searches through all those past experiences. It asks, what happened last time something like this occurred? What should I expect? What should I feel? This is why the same situation can trigger different emotions in different people. Two people walking into a crowded party might feel completely different things. One feels excitement. Their past experiences with crowds have been positive. The other feels anxiety. Their history tells a different story. Your emotions are personal. They're shaped by your unique journey through life. Every joy, every heartbreak, every surprise. They're all there, quietly influencing what you feel right now. Now, let's talk about stress for a moment. Because stress and emotion are deeply connected. Stress hormones prepare your body through the fight or flight response. When your amygdala detects a threat, it triggers a cascade. Your hypothalamus activates. Your adrenal glands release hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. These hormones surge through your bloodstream, reaching every part of your body within seconds. Your heart beats faster, pumping blood to your muscles. Your breathing quickens, bringing in more oxygen. Your pupils dilate, sharpening your vision. Your digestion stops. This isn't the time for that. Energy floods your system. You become alert, focused, ready. This is the fight or flight response. The ancient system that helped your ancestors survive genuine threats. Lions, rival tribes, natural disasters. Of course, these days, you're probably not running from lions. But your brain still activates the same system when you're stressed about work, or worried about a relationship, or anxious about the future. Your body doesn't distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one. It just knows something important is happening. Be ready. And here's something fascinating about your brain. Something that reveals just how connected your emotional and physical worlds really are. Your brain doesn't distinguish between emotional and physical pain. Scientists have discovered this by watching what happens in the brain when people experience different types of pain. When you stub your toe, certain areas light up. When you feel the pain of rejection or loss, many of those same areas light up. The experience of heartbreak, your brain processes it in regions that also process physical pain. The ache of loneliness, it activates similar neural pathways to physical injury. This isn't just metaphor. When we say we're hurt by someone's words, when we talk about emotional wounds, there's neurological truth there. Your brain genuinely experiences emotional pain as a form of pain. This is why loss can feel physically heavy. Why grief can make your chest ache. Why anxiety can tie your stomach in knots. Your emotions aren't separate from your body. They are your body speaking to you in the language of sensation. Now, you've probably noticed that some memories are more vivid than others, especially emotional memories. You might not remember what you had for lunch last Tuesday, but you remember exactly where you were during a moment of intense joy or fear or sadness. There's a reason for that. Multiple neurons must fire in sync to create strong emotional memories. When something emotionally significant happens, networks of neurons throughout your brain activate together. They fire in patterns, in synchrony, like an orchestra playing the same piece. And when neurons fire together repeatedly, they wire together. The connections between them strengthen. This synchronized firing creates robust memories. Memories that last. Your brain is essentially saying, this matters. Remember this. You might need this information to survive. And those stress hormones we talked about earlier, they play a crucial role in this process too. Stress hormones enhance emotional memory. Cortisol and adrenaline don't just prepare your body for action. They also tell your brain, whatever is happening right now, encode it well. Make this memory strong. This is why you remember traumatic events so vividly. Why your first kiss or your graduation or the birth of a child stays with you in such detail. The emotional intensity triggers hormones that essentially etch the memory more deeply into your brain. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. If something threatened your survival, you needed to remember it clearly so you could avoid it in the future. If something brought you joy or success, you needed to remember so you could seek it out again. Your brain is always learning, always adapting, using emotions as signals for what matters. So here we are. Your amygdala, standing sentinel. Your body, responding before you think. Your brain, constructing emotions from the rich library of your past. Your stress response, preparing you and marking memories. Your pain systems, making no distinction between hurt feelings and hurt bodies. Your neurons, firing together, wiring together, creating the emotional memories that shape who you are. It's complex, beautiful, ancient and personal all at once. And as you rest now, as you let these ideas drift through your mind like clouds across a quiet sky, know that all of this is happening in you. Right now. Always. This intricate dance of body and mind, creating your emotional life, moment by moment. You don't have to control it. You don't have to understand it perfectly. Just let it be. Just rest. Let's shift now to something you've probably felt without quite realizing it. The way emotions don't just happen in your head. They happen everywhere. in every part of you. Your gut literally responds to emotions. You know this feeling, don't you? Butterflies before something exciting. That sinking sensation when you get bad news. The knot of anxiety before a difficult conversation. These aren't just figures of speech. They're real, physical responses happening in your digestive system. Your gut is lined with millions of neurons. So many that scientists sometimes call it your second brain. And it's in constant communication with your actual brain, sending signals back and forth through what's called the vagus nerve. When you feel anxious, your gut knows. When you feel joy, your gut knows that too. It responds, shifts, changes its rhythm in sync with your emotional state. And here's what's remarkable. The gut-brain connection influences decision-making. That gut feeling you get about something? That intuition. It's not just metaphorical wisdom. It's your gut literally communicating with your brain, contributing to how you make choices. Your digestive system processes emotional information and sends it upward, informing your decisions in ways you're not consciously aware of. That's why sometimes you just know something feels right or wrong, even when you can't explain why logically. Your body knows things your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Now, let's move to your heart. Not the symbolic heart of love and emotion, but your actual beating heart. Because it tells a story about how you handle emotions. Heart rate variability reflects your emotional regulation ability. Heart rate variability. It's the natural variation in time between each heartbeat. A healthy heart doesn't beat like a metronome. It speeds up slightly when you breathe in, slows down slightly when you breathe out. It adapts, moment to moment. And people with higher heart rate variability tend to be better at regulating their emotions. They can stay calmer under pressure. They recover more quickly from stress. Their nervous system is flexible, adaptable, resilient. It's a window into your emotional world, right there in the rhythm of your heart. And speaking of stress, lower heart rate variability during stress anticipation predicts higher cortisol. When people are anticipating something stressful, their heart rate variability drops. The heart becomes more rigid, less variable. And that drop predicts how much cortisol, that stress hormone, will flood their system when the stressful thing actually happens. Your body is already preparing, already responding to what it expects is coming. Even anticipation creates a physical response. One more thing to note, gently, without judgment. Just an observation about how bodies differ. Women show greater stress-induced hyperarousal than men. On average, women's bodies respond to stress with higher levels of physiological activation. Heart rate increases more. Stress hormones surge higher. The body's alarm system rings louder. This isn't weakness. It's just difference. Different bodies, shaped by different evolutionary pressures, different hormones, different histories. And understanding this difference can help us be more compassionate with others and with ourselves. So your emotions live in your gut, sending signals up to your brain. They live in the rhythm of your heart, in its flexibility and adaptation. They live in the whole landscape of your body, responding, preparing, knowing things before you consciously know them. You are not just a mind with a body attached. You are a unified whole. Mind and body, inseparable, speaking to each other in every moment. Rest in that wholeness now. Feel your breath, your heartbeat, the quiet wisdom of your body doing what it does, always, even as you drift towards sleep. You are held by this intricate system, safe in its ancient knowing. Now we come to a question that matters deeply in daily life. What do we do with our emotions once they arise? Do we show them? Hide them? And what happens either way? Let's start with something important. Something worth really hearing. Suppressing emotions can harm your health. When you push down what you feel, When you force yourself to appear calm or happy when you're not, your body keeps score. The emotion doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. Into muscle tension, into elevated blood pressure, into stress hormones circulating through your system. Studies have shown that people who habitually suppress their emotions have higher rates of cardiovascular disease. Their immune systems don't work as well. They experience more anxiety and depression over time. Your body is trying to express something, and when you block that expression, the energy has to go somewhere. It turns inward, creating wear and tear you can't see, but your body certainly feels. And here's the paradox. Here's what makes it even more complicated. Trying to avoid emotions often makes them stronger. You know that instruction, don't think about a white bear. The moment someone says it, what do you think about? A white bear, of course. Emotions work the same way. When you try very hard not to feel something, you often end up feeling it more intensely. The effort to suppress it keeps your attention focused on it. You're monitoring yourself constantly, checking, am I still sad? Am I still angry? Is it gone yet? And that monitoring, that checking, keeps the emotion alive and present. It's like trying not to scratch an itch. The more you focus on not scratching, the more you notice the itch, until it becomes almost unbearable. But here's the good news. Here's something that can bring genuine relief. Emotions are temporary. Every emotion, no matter how intense, has a natural lifespan. If you don't suppress it and you don't amplify it by ruminating on it, if you just let it be, it will peak and then gradually subside. Neuroscientists have found that the physiological response of an emotion typically lasts about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's how long it takes for the chemical cascade in your body to surge and then naturally flush out. Now, emotions can certainly last longer than 90 seconds in your experience. But that's usually because you're re-triggering them with your thoughts, with your interpretations, with your stories about what happened. The raw emotion itself? It's like a wave. It rises, crests, and falls. If you let it. So we face this dilemma. Suppressing emotions harms us. Trying to avoid them makes them stronger. What do we do? Perhaps the answer lies not in what we do with our emotions, but in understanding something else. Something fascinating about the relationship between your body and your feelings. Making facial expressions creates the emotion itself. This sounds strange, doesn't it? You'd think the emotion comes first, then the expression. You feel happy, so you smile. You feel sad, so you frown. But it also works in reverse. The act of smiling can actually generate feelings of happiness. The act of frowning can generate feelings of sadness. Your brain reads your face, and it makes assumptions about what you must be feeling based on what your face is doing. Simply smiling can make you feel happier. Not fake happiness. Not pretending everything is fine when it's not. But the physical act of smiling, even if you start it deliberately, can genuinely shift your emotional state. It can lift your mood, even if just a little. There's something almost magical about it, but it's really just biology. Your facial expressions signal your brain about your emotions. Information flows both ways. Your emotions create expressions, yes. But your expressions also create emotions. Your face is having a conversation with your brain, constantly telling it what to feel. When you furrow your brow, your brain receives a signal. Something is wrong, be concerned. When you relax your face, your brain receives a different signal. Things are okay, you can ease up. This principle extends beyond your face, actually. Power posing can make you feel more powerful. Standing in an expansive posture, see, chest open, hands on hips or arms raised, even for just 2 minutes, can change your hormonal profile. It can increase testosterone and decrease cortisol. It can make you genuinely feel more confident, more capable. Your body tells your brain who you are and how you should feel about yourself. But here's where it gets interesting. What happens when you can't make certain expressions? Botox may reduce your ability to feel emotions fully. Botox works by paralyzing facial muscles. People get it to smooth out wrinkles, to prevent frown lines. But in doing so, they also prevent themselves from making the full range of facial expressions. And studies have found that people with Botox sometimes report feeling emotions less intensely. Not because the Botox affects their brain directly, but because their face can't give their brain the full feedback about what they're feeling. They can't furrow their brow fully when confused or worried. They can't scrunch up their face in disgust. And without those signals from their face, the emotions themselves are dampened. It's a reminder of how interconnected everything is. Your face isn't just expressing your inner state. It's helping create it. Now, before you start thinking you can just smile your way through everything, there's an important caveat. The facial feedback effect only works while you're making the expression. Smiling can make you feel happier in the moment. But it's not a cure for deep sadness. It's not a substitute for processing difficult emotions. The effect is real but temporary and limited. You can't smile away grief. You can't power pose away trauma. These tools are small interventions, gentle nudges, not solutions to genuine pain. So where does this leave us? With a paradox, maybe. Suppression harms us. Avoidance strengthens what we're trying to avoid. But our bodies can help shift our emotions through expression and posture. Perhaps the wisdom is this: don't suppress, but don't cling either. Let emotions move through you. Feel them. Express them when it's safe and appropriate. Use your body, your breath, your posture, your face, as gentle allies in regulation, not as ways to deny what's real. And remember always that emotions are temporary. They're visitors, not permanent residents. Each one has something to tell you, and then it will naturally fade, making room for whatever comes next. You don't have to be at war with what you feel. You can be curious, patient, kind to yourself in the feeling of it. That's enough. That's more than enough. Rest now in that permission. To feel what you feel. To let it be. To know it will pass. Everything passes. Everything changes. Including this moment, this feeling, this day. We don't experience emotions in isolation. We're always surrounded by others, their feelings rippling out and touching us in ways we barely notice. Emotions are contagious. You've felt this, haven't you? Someone walks into a room anxious, and within minutes you feel tense too, even if nothing has happened to you. Someone starts laughing, really laughing, and soon you're smiling, maybe laughing yourself, without even knowing what's funny. This isn't just imagination. It's a real phenomenon. When you observe someone experiencing an emotion, mirror neurons in your brain activate. The same regions that light up when you feel that emotion light up when you simply watch someone else feel it. You catch emotions the way you might catch a cold. Through proximity. Through exposure. Through the simple act of being near another feeling person. This is how empathy works at its most basic level. You don't just intellectually understand what someone else feels. You feel an echo of it yourself. But how do we know what others are feeling? Often, it's not their faces that tell us first. Body language often speaks louder than facial expressions. The way someone holds their shoulders. The tension in their spine. Whether they're leaning toward you or away. How they move through space. Quickly, nervously, or slowly with heavy limbs. These body cues communicate emotion powerfully, sometimes even more clearly than faces. You can see sadness in the slump of someone's posture from across a room. You can see anger in the sharpness of their movements, joy in the lightness of their step. Your brain is reading these signals constantly, mostly without you realizing it. Within a fraction of a second, you've already gathered emotional information. You can identify emotions in just 250 milliseconds, a quarter of a second. That's all it takes for your brain to recognize the basic emotional state of another person. Faster than conscious thought. Faster than you can even articulate what you're seeing. This speed made sense for your ancestors. Knowing instantly whether the stranger approaching was friendly or threatening could mean the difference between life and death. And your brain is especially attuned to the subtle, to the fleeting. Micro-expressions reveal concealed emotions. These are tiny facial movements that flash across someone's face in less than half a second. They happen when someone is trying to conceal what they really feel, but the truth leaks out anyway. A moment of contempt, a flash of fear, a brief tightening around the eyes that suggests anxiety. Most people aren't consciously aware of micro-expressions, either in others or in themselves. But we register them unconsciously. That's often why you might feel like something is off with someone, even when they're saying all the right words. You're picking up these tiny signals of concealed emotion. And some emotions, we're especially quick to notice. Angry bodies are recognized faster than other emotions. Your brain prioritizes threat detection. So when someone's body shows anger, tense muscles, aggressive posture, sharp movements, you recognize it faster than you recognize happiness or sadness. Again, this is survival. Joy can wait. Sadness can wait. But anger might require immediate response. Your brain knows this instinctively and gives anger priority in processing. So as you move through the world, as you encounter others, know that you're constantly engaged in this quiet exchange. Reading emotions. Broadcasting your own. Catching feelings from others like ripples spreading across water. We're not separate beings, emotionally. We're connected, permeable, always influencing and being influenced. And maybe there's comfort in that. You're not alone in what you feel. Your emotions connect you to everyone who has ever felt them. And right now, in this moment, you're part of this vast network of feeling beings, all of us reading each other, resonating with each other, sharing this experience of being alive and aware and emotional. Rest in that connection. Let it hold you gently as you drift. Let's take a journey now through time. Through a human life, from the very beginning to the gentle twilight years. Because emotions aren't static. They grow with us, change with us, mature as we mature. Think back to the very start. To infancy. To those first moments of life. Babies are born with only 2 emotional states. Just 2. Not 8, like we talked about earlier. Not the full spectrum of human feeling. Just 2 simple states, distress and contentment. A newborn is either upset, crying, fussing, uncomfortable, or they're calm, peaceful, fed, held, safe. That's it. That's the entire emotional range at birth. Everything else has to develop, has to unfold over time. And it does, remarkably quickly. Infants display primary emotions within 6 months. By the time a baby is 6 months old, you can see joy clearly. Real, unmistakable delight. You can see anger when something is taken away. You can see sadness, fear, surprise. The 8 basic emotions we talked about, they're emerging, one by one, as the baby's brain develops. It's like watching a garden grow. What started as just 2 simple states blossoms into a full emotional landscape. And babies aren't just feeling emotions. They're reading them too, sooner than you might think. Babies can detect anger in others by 2 months. At just 2 months old, an infant can distinguish between a happy face and an angry face. They respond differently to each one. An angry expression makes them distressed. A happy one helps them relax. They're already learning that other people have feelings. That those feelings matter. That the emotional atmosphere around them is something to pay attention to. As babies grow a bit older, around 6 to 12 months, something interesting happens. Stranger anxiety signals cognitive development. Suddenly, a baby who might have smiled at anyone starts to cry when an unfamiliar person approaches. This isn't regression. It's actually progress. It means the baby has developed object permanence and memory. They can now distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar faces. They know who their caregivers are and they prefer them. They've formed attachments. That anxiety about strangers, it's actually a sign that the baby's brain is working beautifully, making important distinctions, understanding the social world in increasingly sophisticated ways. But here's something crucial about these early years. Something that shapes everything that comes after. Infants need caregivers to regulate emotions. A baby cannot calm themselves down. They don't have the brain development for it yet. When they're upset, they need someone else to soothe them. To hold them, rock them, speak softly, help their nervous system settle. This isn't spoiling them. It's necessary. It's teaching their brain what regulation feels like. Emotion regulation is learned through co-regulation with caregivers. Every time a caregiver responds to a distressed infant with calm, soothing presence, every time they help that baby shift from upset to calm, they're teaching. The baby's nervous system is learning. This is what it feels like to go from dysregulated to regulated. This is how it happens. Over time, with hundreds and thousands of repetitions, the child internalizes this process. They begin to be able to soothe themselves. The external regulation gradually becomes internal regulation. This is why those early relationships matter so profoundly. They're not just about comfort in the moment. They're about building the emotional scaffolding that will last a lifetime. And as we grow, as we move through childhood and adolescence and into adulthood, our strategies for managing emotions continue to evolve. Emotion regulation strategies change across the lifespan. A young child might regulate by seeking comfort from a parent, or by distraction, looking at something else, playing with a toy. A teenager might use suppression more, trying to hide what they feel, or they might seek out friends, use humor, or unfortunately sometimes engage in risky behaviors to manage overwhelming feelings. Adults develop more sophisticated strategies. Reappraisal, looking at a situation from a different perspective. Problem solving. Acceptance, seeking social support in mature ways. We're constantly learning new ways to work with our emotions, building a larger and larger toolkit as we gain experience and wisdom. And here's something beautiful. Something that might surprise you, especially in a culture that often fears aging. Older adults experience better emotional well-being than younger adults. Study after study has found this. People in their 60s, 70s, 80s often report greater life satisfaction, more stable moods, and less anxiety and depression than people in their 20s and 30s. This seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Older adults face loss of health, of loved ones, of abilities they once had. Shouldn't they be more distressed? But something shifts with age. Something in how we relate to emotion itself. Older adults focus attention on positive stimuli. When shown a series of images, some positive and some negative, younger adults tend to remember the negative ones more vividly. Older adults remember the positive ones more. When looking at a face showing mixed emotions, younger adults focus on the negative aspects. Older adults focus on the positive. This isn't denial or delusion. It's a genuine shift in priorities. As people age and become more aware that time is limited, they naturally gravitate toward what brings meaning, connection, and joy. They let go of petty concerns more easily. They appreciate small pleasures more deeply. There's wisdom in this shift, a hard-earned peace. And perhaps partly because of this emotional wisdom, older adults have lower rates of psychiatric disorders. Anxiety disorders, depression, substance abuse. All are less common in older adults than in younger ones. Again, this goes against stereotypes. But the data is clear. There's something about moving through a full life, about accumulating experiences and perspective, that often brings emotional stability. Not perfect happiness. Older adults still feel the full range of emotions, including grief and loss. But there's a groundedness, a capacity to hold difficult feelings without being destroyed by them. So here's the arc. We begin with just distress and contentment. We develop the full spectrum of emotion in our first year. We learn to read emotions in others. We need help regulating for years, gradually internalizing that capacity. our strategies grow more sophisticated. And if we're fortunate to live a long life, we often arrive at a place of greater emotional balance than we had in youth. Emotions aren't something we master once and then we're done. They're companions for the entire journey, changing as we change, deepening as we deepen. And wherever you are in your own journey, whether you're young and still learning, whether you're in the turbulent middle years, whether you've arrived at that place of elder wisdom, your emotional life is exactly where it should be, unfolding in its own time, growing at its own pace. There's no rush. There's nowhere else you need to be but here, in this moment, with whatever you're feeling right now. Trust the process. Trust the arc. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be. And rest. Just rest. For most people, emotions come with labels. You feel something, and you can name it. I'm sad. I'm excited. I'm frustrated. But for some people, this isn't so easy. About 10% of people struggle to identify their own emotions. There's a name for this: alexithymia. It literally means no words for feelings. People with alexithymia feel emotions. The physiological responses are all there. The racing heart, the tight chest, the tension. But they can't identify what the feeling is. They can't put a name to it. It's confusing, sometimes distressing. Like having a word on the tip of your tongue that never quite comes. Imagine feeling something intense in your body and not knowing if you're anxious or excited, angry or sad. Not being able to sort through the signals and make sense of them. This isn't a choice. It's not about being emotionally unavailable or unwilling to introspect. It's a genuine difficulty in processing and identifying emotional experiences. And certain factors can make this more likely. Language impairment increases alexithymia risk. If someone has difficulty with language in general, whether from a developmental disorder, a brain injury, or simply the way their brain is wired, they're more likely to struggle with naming emotions too. This makes sense. Emotions and language are intertwined. We use words to clarify feelings, to distinguish one from another. Without fluid access to language, the emotional landscape can feel vague and undefined. And you can often see this difficulty reflected in how people speak. People with alexithymia use fewer emotion words. When they talk about their experiences, they describe physical sensations more than feelings. My stomach hurt. I couldn't sleep. I felt tense. But they're less likely to say, I was worried, or I felt devastated, or I was overjoyed. The internal experience may be rich and complex, but the vocabulary to capture it isn't readily available. If this describes you, or someone you love, know that it's okay. You're not broken. You're not doing emotions wrong. Your feelings are valid even if you can't always name them. Your experience matters even if words fail to capture it. And for everyone else, this is a gentle reminder. Not everyone experiences emotions the same way. Not everyone can articulate what they feel with clarity. And that's okay too. Sometimes emotions live beyond language. In the wordless places. In sensation and intuition and the quiet knowing of the body. Rest in that. In the feeling itself, named or unnamed. You don't always need words. Sometimes presence is enough. Not everyone experiences emotions the same way. We've touched on this, but let's go a bit deeper now, into the variations in how people connect, or don't connect, with the feelings of others. Empathy has two parts, really. Cognitive empathy is understanding what someone else feels. It's the intellectual recognition, this person is sad right now. Emotional empathy is feeling something in response. It's when their sadness touches you, creates an echo in your own heart. Most people have both, but not everyone. Psychopaths have intact cognitive empathy but lack emotional empathy. Someone with psychopathy can read your emotions quite accurately. They can tell when you're afraid, when you're sad, when you're vulnerable. They understand it cognitively. They just don't feel it with you. Your pain doesn't create discomfort in them. Your fear doesn't make them want to protect you. They can see what you feel without being moved by it. This is part of what makes psychopathy so unsettling when we encounter it. The person seems to understand, but there's a coldness underneath, an absence of that natural resonance that usually connects us to one another. And psychopathy isn't the only condition where empathy works differently. Empathy dysfunction appears across multiple disorders. Autism spectrum disorder, for instance, involves difficulties with cognitive empathy, reading social cues, understanding what others might be thinking or feeling, but often preserved or even heightened emotional empathy. Someone with autism might not recognize that you're upset, but if they do realize it, they may feel deeply distressed by your distress. Borderline personality disorder can involve intense emotional empathy but difficulty regulating those empathic feelings, leading to overwhelming emotional responses. Different conditions, different patterns. The landscape of empathy is more varied than we often realize. Take narcissism, for example. Narcissists have deficient emotional empathy but dysfunctional cognitive empathy. People with narcissistic traits struggle to feel with you emotionally. Your suffering doesn't naturally move them. But their cognitive empathy is also impaired, though in a specific way. It's colored by their own need for admiration and their defensive structure. They may misread your emotions through the lens of how those emotions relate to them. They might interpret your sadness as a criticism of them, your independence as a threat, your joy as competition. The cognitive understanding is there, but it's distorted by their own psychological needs. These differences in empathy often have roots in the brain itself. Psychopaths have approximately 18% smaller amygdalas. Remember the amygdala, that emotional sentinel we talked about earlier. In people with psychopathy, it's measurably smaller. Less volume, less connectivity to other brain regions. This isn't about blame or moral failing. It's neurobiology, the structure that helps most people connect emotionally to others, that makes us feel uncomfortable when we see someone in pain, that creates the natural aversion to harming others. It's different in psychopathy. Smaller, quieter, less responsive. Understanding these differences doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it does help us see that empathy, like all aspects of emotional life, exists on a spectrum. It's shaped by brain structure, by development, by experience. Some people feel everything everyone around them feels, almost too much. Some people understand emotions intellectually but don't feel them. Some people struggle to read emotions at all but feel them intensely once they do. We're all different. Our emotional and empathic profiles are as varied as our faces, our voices, our fingerprints. And maybe there's something humbling in that, in recognizing that your way of feeling isn't the only way. That connection and understanding take many forms. That we're all working with different equipment, doing our best to navigate this emotional world. So rest now, knowing that wherever you fall on these spectrums, however you experience empathy and emotion, you're part of the vast diversity of human experience. There's room for all of it. Room for all of us. Just as you are. We like to think our emotions come purely from within. From our thoughts, our circumstances, our relationships. And they do, of course. But they're also shaped by things far more mundane, far more external. Things like the weather outside your window. Weather affects people differently based on personality. Some people bloom in sunshine. Their mood lifts on bright days, and they feel heavy under gray skies. Others feel most alive in rain and clouds, finding the sunshine almost oppressive, too demanding of cheerfulness they don't feel. Research has found that people who are more neurotic, more prone to anxiety and negative emotions, are more affected by weather changes. A gloomy day can significantly lower their mood. Meanwhile, people who are more emotionally stable cruise through weather changes with barely a ripple in their emotional state. There's no right way to respond to weather. Your nervous system has its own sensitivities, its own preferences. And that's perfectly fine. But there is something to be said for certain seasonal patterns that many people share. Spring can actually boost your mood after winter. You've probably felt this. Those first truly warm days after months of cold and darkness. The way the light changes, becomes golden again. The green returning to the world. There's science behind that lift in spirits. Increased sunlight exposure boosts serotonin production in your brain. It regulates your circadian rhythms, improving sleep. The warmth itself feels like permission. Permission to go outside, to move your body, to feel alive again. Spring is a kind of collective exhale after winter's holding pattern. And your mood responds to that, naturally, without you even trying. Of course, not all weather affects mood in pleasant ways. High humidity lowers concentration and increases sleepiness. When the air is thick with moisture, your body has to work harder to cool itself. You feel sluggish, heavy. Your brain doesn't work quite as sharply. Thoughts come slower. You find yourself yawning, wanting to nap, struggling to focus. This isn't laziness. It's physiology. Your body is responding to the environment, conserving energy, adjusting its functioning to the conditions around you. And then there's heat. Real heat. Extreme heat above 75 degrees Fahrenheit increases aggression. This has been documented again and again. Crime rates go up in hot weather. Arguments escalate more quickly. People honk their horns more. Violence increases. Heat makes us irritable. It stresses our bodies, and that stress lowers our threshold for frustration. Small annoyances that we might shrug off on a cool day become intolerable when we're sweating and uncomfortable. Even our language reflects this. We talk about hot-headed anger, about tempers flaring and boiling over. The metaphor is rooted in real experience. Interestingly, heat doesn't just make us more aggressive. It changes our decision-making in other ways too. Warm temperatures increase financial risk-taking. When people are physically warm, they make bolder financial decisions. They're more likely to take risks, to gamble, to make investments they might normally shy away from. Why? Researchers think it might be because warmth is associated with safety and comfort at a deep, primal level. When you're warm, your body relaxes. Your guard comes down. You feel more optimistic, more willing to take chances. Cold, on the other hand, makes us more cautious, more protective, more conservative in our choices. We're literally and metaphorically trying to conserve resources, to protect ourselves. So think about that. Your decisions, about money, about relationships, about what risks to take, they're not made in a vacuum. They're made in a body that's responding to temperature, to humidity, to the quality of light, to whether it's raining or sunny or somewhere in between. You are not separate from your environment. You're in constant dialogue with it. Your mood, your energy, your choices. They're all influenced by these external factors that you might not even consciously notice. This isn't about losing agency or blaming the weather for everything. It's about compassion, about understanding that you're a sensitive being, affected by countless variables. On a hot, humid day when everything feels harder, it's not all in your head. Your body is genuinely struggling with the conditions. On a dark winter afternoon when your energy is low, that's real. That's your biology responding appropriately to reduced light. You don't have to override these responses constantly. You don't have to be chipper in every kind of weather, energetic in all conditions. You can acknowledge the influence of your environment. You can be gentle with yourself when conditions are difficult. And maybe, when you're making important decisions, you can pause and notice. What's the weather like? How's my body feeling? Am I unusually warm or cold, comfortable or stressed? These external factors matter. They're part of the full picture of your emotional life. So rest now, wherever you are, in whatever weather surrounds you. Your body is doing what bodies do. Responding, adapting, feeling the world it's in. That's not weakness. That's being alive. Being permeable. Being part of the larger world, not separate from it. Let yourself be affected. Let yourself respond. Let yourself be human, in all your weather-sensitive, temperature-responsive, environmentally influenced humanity. It's okay. It's all okay. Your body wants to move. It's designed for it, built for it. And when it moves, something remarkable happens in your emotional world. Exercise produces runners high through endorphins. You've probably heard of this. That feeling of euphoria that can come during or after physical activity. That sense of ease, of everything being okay, of mild bliss washing through you. It's real. It's not just psychological. It's chemical. When you exercise, especially when you push yourself into moderate or vigorous activity, your body releases endorphins. These are molecules that flood your brain and nervous system, creating feelings of pleasure and well-being. The runner's high isn't just for runners, by the way. You can get it from dancing, from swimming, from cycling, from any sustained physical effort. Your body doesn't care what kind of movement you're doing. It just responds to the movement itself. And these endorphins, they're quite special. Endorphins are your body's natural painkillers. They work on the same receptors in your brain as opioid drugs. They reduce your perception of pain. They create a sense of calm and contentment. They're literally your body's own morphine, produced internally, no prescription needed. This is why exercise can help with chronic pain. Why movement, even when it's difficult at first, can eventually make you feel better physically. Your body is medicating itself, in a sense, through its own elegant chemistry. But endorphins don't just reduce physical pain. Exercise is as effective as antidepressants for some people. This has been demonstrated in multiple studies. For mild to moderate depression, regular exercise can produce improvements comparable to medication. Not for everyone. Some people need medication, and that's perfectly valid. But for many people, movement is powerful medicine for the mind. It makes sense when you think about it. Depression often involves disrupted neurotransmitter systems: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. Exercise influences all of these. It increases their production and availability. It helps your brain chemistry rebalance naturally. Plus, exercise gives you a sense of accomplishment. It gets you out of rumination, out of your head, into your body. It creates structure in your day. It can connect you with others if you exercise in groups or classes. All of these factors combine to shift your emotional state, sometimes profoundly. Now, you might be wondering, does it matter what kind of exercise? How hard do you need to push? Higher intensity exercise may be more effective for mood. While any movement helps, research suggests that more vigorous exercise, the kind that gets your heart rate up significantly, that makes you breathe hard, that challenges you, tends to produce stronger mood benefits. This doesn't mean you need to run marathons or train like an athlete. It just means that a gentle stroll, while lovely and certainly better than nothing, might not shift your brain chemistry as dramatically as a brisk walk that gets you slightly out of breath, or a bike ride that makes your legs burn a little, or dancing that gets your heart pumping. The intensity creates a stronger endorphin response, a bigger neurochemical shift. But here's what matters most: whatever movement you can do, consistently, is the right movement for you. The best exercise is the one you'll actually do. The one that fits into your life. The one that doesn't feel like punishment but like a gift you give yourself. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's walking your dog. Maybe it's dancing in your living room to music you love. Maybe it's swimming or hiking or playing with your children. Your body doesn't judge. It just responds. It releases endorphins. It shifts neurotransmitters. It processes stress hormones. It does what it's designed to do when it moves. And movement doesn't just help in the moment. Over time, regular exercise actually changes your brain structure. It increases the volume of your hippocampus, which is involved in memory and emotion regulation. It improves the connectivity between different brain regions. It increases something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like fertilizer for your neurons, helping them grow and form new connections. You're literally reshaping your brain, making it more resilient, more capable of handling stress and regulating emotion, through the simple act of moving your body regularly. This isn't about forcing yourself to exercise when you don't want to. It's not about shame or should. It's just information. Your body has this capacity, this built-in system for creating its own mood-lifting chemicals, for processing difficult emotions, for finding ease and relief. And you can access it whenever you're ready, whenever you need it. A walk around the block, a few minutes of stretching, dancing to one song. That's all it takes to begin, to remind your body what it can do for you. So if you're carrying heavy emotions, if you're struggling, if you're stuck, consider movement. Not as a fix-all, not as a replacement for other support you might need, but as one tool in your toolkit. One way your body knows how to take care of you, if you let it. Your body is wise. It knows how to create endorphins, how to shift chemistry, how to move toward balance. Sometimes it just needs the opportunity, the invitation, the permission, and you can give it that, gently, in your own time, in your own way. For now, rest. Let your body be still. Let it recover and restore in the quiet of this moment. But know that when you're ready, when you need it, movement is there, waiting for you, ready to help you feel better, naturally, through the elegant design of your own remarkable body. Sleep peacefully now. Your body is taking care of you, even as you rest. It always has been. It always will be. We live in a time unlike any other in human history. Our emotional lives now extend into digital spaces, into glowing screens, into networks of connection that span the entire world in an instant. This changes things. Not all bad, not all good. Just different. Social media likes create feelings of elation. You post something, a photo, a thought, a moment from your life, and then you wait. You check back, and there they are, little hearts, thumbs up, double taps, and something happens in your brain. A small surge of pleasure, a tiny hit of dopamine, validation, recognition. I was seen. I mattered. People liked what I shared. It's a real feeling, a genuine emotional response. Your brain treats social approval, even in this digital form, as rewarding. The same circuits that light up when you receive praise in person light up when you see those notifications accumulate. This isn't superficial. It's how we're wired. We're social creatures. We need to belong, to be acknowledged, to know we're not alone. And in the modern world, some of that need gets met through these digital signals. But there's something missing in these digital interactions. Something important. Text-based online communication is emotionally impoverished. When you communicate through text, through messages, through comments, through posts, you lose so much. You lose tone of voice. You lose facial expressions. You lose body language. You lose the warmth of physical presence, the subtle cues that tell you someone is truly listening, truly with you. Words on a screen are just that. Words. Stripped of the rich emotional context that makes in-person communication so nuanced, so layered. This is why misunderstandings happen so easily online. Why a casual comment can be read as hostile. Why jokes fall flat. Why you can feel lonely even while texting with friends. The bandwidth is just narrower. The emotional information that normally flows between people is reduced to whatever can be conveyed through words alone, maybe with the help of some emojis trying their best to fill the gap. And yet, we use these platforms constantly. Not just for connection, but for something else too. People use social media for digital emotion regulation. When you're feeling bad, you might scroll through Instagram, looking at beautiful images, funny videos, uplifting content. You're trying to shift your mood, to distract yourself, to find something that will make you feel differently. When you're angry, you might seek out content that validates that anger, that tells you you're right to feel what you feel. When you're lonely, you reach for your phone, hoping for connection, for messages, for the feeling that someone out there is thinking of you. Social media becomes a tool for managing emotions. Not always effectively, not always healthily, but that's often how we use it. We're reaching for something, trying to feel better, or sometimes trying to feel something at all. And here's what's interesting, the relationship goes both ways. Emotional states affect how we use technology. When you're in a good mood, you're more likely to post positive content, to engage generously with others, to scroll casually without getting caught in comparison or envy. When you're anxious or depressed, you might doom scroll. You might fall into rabbit holes of negative content. You might compare yourself to others and feel worse. Or you might avoid posting altogether, feeling like you have nothing worth sharing. Your emotions shape your digital behavior, which then shapes your emotions, which shapes your behavior. It's a loop. a feedback cycle, and it can spiral either upward or downward. There's also an interesting social dynamic at play online. Positive emotions are considered more appropriate online. Have you noticed this? Social media is full of highlights, celebrations, achievements, beautiful moments, everyone's best angle, best experience, best day. Negative emotions are less welcome. Sadness, anger, fear, they're often seen as too much, too heavy. People worry about being perceived as attention-seeking or bringing others down. So we curate, we edit, we show the joy and hide the struggle. We perform positivity even when we're falling apart inside. This creates a distorted picture, both of others' lives and of what emotions are acceptable to have and express. It makes everyone feel more alone in their difficult feelings because they don't see those feelings reflected back to them. Everyone is struggling sometimes. Everyone feels sad, anxious, angry, lost. But online, you might not know that. You might think you're the only one not living an effortlessly happy life. So where does this leave us? In this digital age, with our emotional lives stretched across physical and virtual spaces, maybe it leaves us needing to be more intentional, more aware. Technology isn't going away. Social media isn't disappearing. But we can choose how we engage with it. We can notice when we're using it to avoid feelings rather than process them. We can recognize when scrolling is making us feel worse, not better. We can remember that the curated perfection we see isn't the full truth of anyone's life. We can seek out real connection, voice calls, video chats, in-person time, when we need genuine emotional support. We can remember that a text message, no matter how kind, isn't the same as a hug. That a like isn't the same as someone looking you in the eye and saying, "I see you. I care about you." And we can give ourselves permission to feel the full range of emotions, even if they're not appropriate for posting. Your sadness is valid even if you don't share it online. Your anxiety is real even if it doesn't fit neatly into an Instagram story. You contain more than what can be captured in pixels and posts. You're deeper, more complex, more human than any profile could convey. So use technology when it serves you, when it genuinely connects you to others, when it brings you joy or information or community. But don't let it replace the deeper, messier, richer emotional experiences that happen in embodied, present, face-to-face connection. And don't let it convince you that you should only feel the easy, photogenic emotions. You're allowed the full spectrum, the darkness and the light, the struggle and the joy. All of it is part of being human. All of it deserves space, whether or not it ever appears on a screen. Rest now in your wholeness, in the parts of you that can be shared and the parts that are just for you. In your complex, sometimes contradictory, always valid emotional reality. You are more than the sum of your posts, more than your notifications, more than the digital trace you leave. You are here, real, breathing, feeling, and that's more than enough. Let's talk about love now, about connection, about the chemistry that binds us to one another in the most profound ways. There's a hormone in your body called oxytocin. Sometimes it's called the love hormone or the bonding hormone. And it plays a remarkable role in how we connect with others, especially in the earliest, most vulnerable relationships. Oxytocin levels during pregnancy predict mother-child bonding. Even before a baby is born, oxytocin is rising in the mother's body. And the amount of oxytocin present during pregnancy can actually predict how strong the bond will be after birth, how responsive the mother will be to her baby's cues, how much warmth and closeness the relationship will have. It's as if the body is preparing, chemically, for the enormous task of falling in love with a tiny human, of forming an attachment so strong that you would sacrifice anything for this new person you've never even met yet. And oxytocin doesn't just prepare the emotions, it changes the brain itself. Oxytocin creates structural changes in mothers' brains. During pregnancy and after birth, oxytocin helps remodel the maternal brain. Certain regions become more active, more responsive. Areas involved in empathy, in reading infant cues, in motivation to care, they all strengthen and expand. This isn't just a temporary shift. These are lasting changes. Becoming a mother, chemically and structurally, reshapes the brain in ways that support this new identity, this new relationship. And the oxytocin keeps flowing, especially if the mother breastfeeds. Breastfeeding and pregnancy escalate oxytocin with antidepressive effects. Every time a baby nurses, oxytocin floods both the mother's and baby systems. For the mother, this creates feelings of calm, of contentment, of deep peace. It counteracts stress. It has genuine antidepressant properties. Nature designed this. Caring for a newborn is exhausting, overwhelming. But the act of feeding releases chemicals that help you cope, that make you feel bonded, that ease the difficulty with waves of tender feeling. It's elegant, really. The body knows what it needs to do and provides its own support system. But oxytocin isn't just about motherhood. It's about all forms of deep connection. Oxytocin influences trust, empathy, and pair bonding. When you hug someone you love, oxytocin releases. When you have an intimate conversation, oxytocin. When you make eye contact with someone you care about, when you share vulnerability, when you feel truly seen, oxytocin is there, deepening the bond, making you trust more, feel more, connect more. This is the chemistry of friendship, of romance, of family. The invisible force that draws us toward each other and keeps us there, wanting to maintain the connection, to return to the warmth of closeness. We are bonding creatures. We're designed for attachment. And oxytocin is one of the key players in making that happen. Now, there's another hormone worth mentioning, especially in the context of new motherhood. Prolactin can lead to emotional instability during lactation. Prolactin is what stimulates milk production, but it also affects mood. And sometimes, especially in the early weeks and months of breastfeeding, it can make emotions feel more volatile, more unpredictable. One moment you're overwhelmed with love. The next you're crying for reasons you can't quite name. The emotional landscape becomes more intense, more changeable. This isn't weakness or something being wrong. It's hormones doing their powerful work. And knowing this can help, can make the emotional intensity feel less frightening, more understandable, more temporary. So love, romantic love, parental love, the deep bonds of friendship, they're not just feelings. They are chemistry. They're brain changes. They're hormones coursing through your body, reshaping who you are, how you connect, what you feel. And that's beautiful, isn't it? That connection is written into our biology. That we're literally designed to bond, to love, to need each other. Now, as we move deeper into rest, let's talk about memory. About the past. About nostalgia. Nostalgia is a bittersweet mixed emotion. It's that feeling you get when you remember something from long ago. A childhood summer. A friendship that's faded. A version of yourself you used to be. There's sweetness in it. The memory of happiness, of simplicity, of times that felt magical. But there's also a sting, the awareness that it's gone, that you can't return, that time moves only forward. Sweet and sad, all at once. That's nostalgia. And interestingly, not all nostalgia affects us the same way. Positive nostalgic feelings improve well-being while negative ones lower it. When nostalgia makes you feel warm, connected to your past, grateful for the experiences you've had, it boosts your mood. It gives you a sense of continuity, of identity, of meaning. But when nostalgia makes you feel loss, regret, longing for what can never be again, it can pull you down, make you feel disconnected from your present life, dissatisfied with how things are now. The same emotion, different flavors, different effects. What makes nostalgia feel good or bad? Often it's about what you're remembering. Most nostalgic memories feature important relationships. When people describe their most nostalgic memories, they're rarely about things or places by themselves. They're about people. About being with someone who mattered. A grandmother's kitchen. A road trip with friends. Playing in the yard with siblings. It's the connections that make memories precious. The feeling of belonging, of being loved, of mattering to someone. And here's something interesting about how we remember. We remember the past through a rose-tinted filter. Our memories aren't accurate recordings. They're reconstructions, edited and softened over time. We tend to remember the good parts more vividly than the bad. We forget the mundane struggles and keep the golden moments. That summer you remember as perfect. There were probably mosquitoes, arguments, boredom. But time has filtered those out, leaving just the essence, the feeling, the glow. This isn't dishonesty. It's how memory works. And maybe it's a kindness. Maybe we need the past to be a place of warmth we can return to in our minds, even if it wasn't quite as perfect as we remember. And nostalgia serves a real purpose, especially during difficult times. Nostalgia helps meet psychological needs during crisis. When life feels uncertain, scary, overwhelming, nostalgia can ground you. It reminds you of who you are, of times when you felt safe, capable, loved. It connects you to a narrative of your life that extends before this hard moment and will extend beyond it. During the pandemic, nostalgia soared. People looked at old photos, rewatched familiar shows, talked about the before times. It was a way of holding onto something stable when everything felt chaotic. Nostalgia is a resource, a place your mind can go to find comfort, meaning, continuity. So as you rest now, maybe you can let yourself drift into a gentle memory. Something warm. Something that makes you smile. A moment when you felt held by love, by connection, by the simple goodness of being alive. Let it be soft, this memory. Imperfect. Just a feeling, really. Just a sense of having been, once, in a moment that mattered. You carry all of those moments with you. All the love you've ever received, all the connections you've made, all the times you belonged. They're still here, woven into who you are. The past lives in you. Not as something lost, but as something that shaped you, made you, gave you the foundation to be here now. And that's a kind of gift. A kind of grace. Rest in it. In the sweetness and the sadness. In the bittersweetness of being human, of having a past, of carrying love forward through time. You are the sum of all your moments. All your connections. All the people who have touched your life and all the ways you've touched theirs. That's who you are. That's what you carry. And it's beautiful. Sleep now. Let nostalgia be a gentle lullaby, rocking you softly toward dreams. You are loved. You have been loved. You will be loved. And now, as we come to the end of our journey together, let's talk about what happens when you finally let go. When you surrender to sleep. Because emotions don't stop when consciousness fades. They follow you into the night. You can laugh and cry in your sleep. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, your body responds to whatever's unfolding in your dreams. A smile spreads across your face. A giggle escapes. Or tears slip down your cheeks, even though you're completely unconscious. Your emotional system is still active, still processing, still feeling, even when you're not aware of it. Sleep isn't an absence of emotion. It's a different stage for emotions to play themselves out. And there's a reason for this. Dreams process your daily emotions during REM sleep. During REM sleep, when your most vivid dreams occur, your brain is doing important emotional work. It's taking all the feelings you experience during the day, the stress, the joy, the frustration, the excitement, and processing them, sorting them, integrating them into your larger emotional landscape. Dreams can be strange, surreal, symbolic. But underneath the bizarre imagery, there's often emotional truth. Your brain is working through what you felt, trying to make sense of it, trying to resolve unfinished emotional business. This is why you sometimes wake up with clarity about something that confused you the day before. Your dreaming mind has been working on it all night. But sometimes, dreams leave traces that linger into waking. Dream emotions can create emotional hangovers. You wake up feeling sad or anxious or angry, and you don't know why. Nothing bad has happened yet today, but the feeling is there, heavy and real. Sometimes it's from a dream. The emotions were so strong, so vivid, that they've carried over into waking consciousness. You can't quite remember the dream, but the feeling remains, like a fog that hasn't lifted yet. These emotional hangovers usually fade as the day goes on, as waking reality replaces the dream world. But for a while, you're living with feelings that belong to a story you can't quite recall. And sometimes, crying in sleep serves a special purpose. Crying in sleep helps process suppressed emotions. If you've been holding something in during the day, keeping yourself together, not letting yourself fully feel, sometimes it comes out at night. Your defenses are down. Your conscious control is offline. And the tears finally flow, releasing what you couldn't let yourself release while awake. This is healing. This is your psyche taking care of itself, finding a safe time and space to let out what needs to come out. You might wake up with damp cheeks and not quite know why. And that's okay. Something in you needed that release. Something has been eased, even if you're not consciously aware of it. All of this, the emotional processing, the dream work, the release, it depends on something essential. Intact sleep is essential for emotional regulation. When you don't sleep well, everything becomes harder emotionally. Small frustrations feel enormous. You're more irritable, more anxious, more prone to tears. Your ability to manage your emotions is significantly impaired. This is because sleep is when your brain restores its regulatory capacity. When it clears out stress hormones, rebalances neurotransmitters, consolidates emotional learning. Without good sleep, you're trying to navigate emotional life with depleted resources. Everything costs more. Everything feels harder. So sleep isn't just rest. It's emotional maintenance. It's the foundation of your ability to feel and cope and regulate. And tonight, as you drift off, know that your brain will do this work for you. You don't have to try. You don't have to control it. You just have to let go and let sleep do what it does. Your emotions will be processed. Your stress will be metabolized. Your emotional system will restore itself, preparing you for whatever tomorrow brings. Before you go completely, let me leave you with a few more wonders. Beautiful curiosities about the ways our senses and emotions intertwine. Music and color share emotional connections. People consistently associate certain emotions with certain colors. Joy with yellow. Sadness with blue, anger with red. And interestingly, they also associate those same emotions with certain types of music. Bright, major key melodies feel yellow. Minor, slow pieces feel blue. Music and color, two completely different senses, somehow speak the same emotional language. They create similar feelings, similar associations, as if emotion is the common thread that ties all our senses together. And music doesn't just affect your feelings. It affects your body in surprising ways. Music can actually change your body temperature. Listening to music you find emotionally powerful can literally warm you up or cool you down. Exciting music can raise your core temperature slightly. Calming music can lower it. Your emotional response to sound creates physical changes throughout your entire system. Sound becomes sensation, becomes emotion, becomes temperature. It's all connected. Of all your senses, though, one has a particularly direct line to emotion. Smell is directly connected to your emotional brain. Scent bypasses the thinking parts of your brain and goes straight to the limbic system, the emotional centers, including the amygdala and hippocampus. This is why a particular smell can instantly transport you to a memory, can create immediate emotional responses before you even consciously recognize what you're smelling. The smell of your grandmother's perfume, the scent of rain on summer pavement, bread baking. All of these can trigger floods of emotion, of memory, of feeling that seems to come from nowhere. Smell and emotion are neurologically intimate in ways our other senses aren't. And for some people, this connection is even stronger. Some people can literally smell emotions. There's a rare condition where people can detect the emotional states of others through scent. They can smell fear, smell happiness, smell stress, actual chemical changes in other people's bodies that most of us can't consciously detect. They're picking up on pheromones, on stress hormones released through sweat, on subtle chemical signatures we all emit but most of us never consciously notice. For these people, emotion isn't just something seen or heard. It's something smelled. Another layer of information about the emotional world around them. And the sensory-emotional connections get even more interesting. Emotions can trigger taste sensations. Some people experience tastes when they feel strong emotions. Joy might taste sweet. Anxiety might taste bitter or metallic. Anger might have a sour, sharp taste. It's as if emotions activate taste receptors, or the brain regions that process taste, creating phantom flavors that accompany feelings. For others, the synesthesia goes in a different direction. Some people taste words and sounds constantly. Every word they hear has a flavor. Every piece of music creates complex taste experiences. They're tasting language, tasting sound, living in a world where senses constantly blend and cross over. The word Tuesday might taste like yogurt. A violin might taste like copper. It's automatic, constant, strange, and completely real for those who experience it. And for some, emotions themselves become multisensory experiences. Emotional synesthesia can trigger multiple senses. For people with this form of synesthesia, feeling an emotion doesn't just create the usual sensations. It also creates colors, sounds, tastes, textures. Sadness might appear as dark blue and feel heavy and rough. Joy might be bright yellow, light, and smooth, with a high-pitched ringing sound. Emotions become fully immersive sensory experiences, engaging all the senses at once in a symphony of feeling. For most of us, emotions are more contained. But even for us, they're never purely mental. They're always embodied, always sensory, always connected to sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. We feel emotions in color and temperature and sensation, in the heaviness or lightness of our bodies, in the quality of light around us, in the sounds that comfort or disturb us. Emotions are the place where all of our senses meet, where inner and outer worlds merge, where chemistry becomes experience, becomes meaning. And so, as you drift now into sleep, into dreams, into the mysterious country of the unconscious, let all of this settle into you. All these facts, all these wonders, all these truths about what you feel and how you feel it. You are an emotional being, a feeling creature, connected to your body, your environment, your past, your relationships, the very chemistry of your brain. Your emotions are ancient and new, universal and utterly personal, simple and infinitely complex. They rise and fall like waves. They color your world. They connect you to others. They change with weather and sleep and movement and memory. They are processed in dreams. They live in your gut and your heart. They're written in your face and your posture. They can be named or remain wordless. They can be shared or held private. They are you. Not all of you, but an essential part. The part that makes you alive, aware, human. And tonight, as you sleep, they'll continue their work, processing, integrating, restoring, preparing you for another day of feeling, of living, of being beautifully, messily, perfectly human. Rest now. Let go. Trust the process. Trust your body. Trust your emotions to do what they've always done. Guide you, protect you, connect you, help you navigate this strange and wondrous experience of being alive. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. Sleep deeply. Dream sweetly. Feel freely. Good night.